was surreal, but it was also one of these things where a huge burden is put on your shoulders, and that was the instant feeling. But I want to do him proud, but most importantly, he wants to do the American people proud. He wants to do the things that he said, and it's really important for him right now. I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes interview last night. It's really important that all Americans understand that he is a president for everyone. He wants to make everyone proud, whether your race, ethnic background, gender, anything.
RNC Chairman Reince Priebus describing his reaction when Donald Trump asked him to serve as White House Chief of Staff, the first of thousands of jobs Mr. Trump's transition team has to fill. Bill Whalen is a Hoover Institution research fellow and columnist for the Sacramento Bee, and he's someone that thinks that Priebus is a smart hire. Bill, why do you think that?
I do. Well, Reince is actually short for Reinhold in German, and Reinhold translates literally to wise counsel, and that's what he is. Reince Priebus is only 44 years old. That's a pup by Washington standards, but he's already been fighting battles in Wisconsin for years, and he's been the longest-serving chairman of the Republican National Committee, Jenna, which means what? He's very good at holding hands, soothing egos, and putting in a strategy, which we saw come into effect last Tuesday. So if you're looking for a White House Chief of Staff who's really good at management, at wise counsel, this is the guy you want.
Interesting perspective. You know, it's funny that you mentioned his age. It's something I was thinking about as we were preparing for our segment with you, Bill, is that, you know, Paul Ryan, Reince Priebus, these are young guys in their 40s. Donald Trump will be the oldest person that will be president of the United States. That's no hit on him. It's just a fact. I know he has a lot of stamina. We've heard about that. But it's interesting to think about the future of the Republican Party with such young men that are in such crucial positions. And we believe that Paul Ryan will maintain his. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, it's funny. So a few years ago, we had a phrase in Washington called young guns, and this was Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy and Eric Cantor, who at the time was the House Majority Leader, and they talked about bringing a younger style of Republican politics forward, and I think that's something to watch for with Priebus. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, we don't know exactly what his responsibilities are beyond the traditional chief of staff functions, which are management, timekeeping, gatekeeping to the Oval Office. We don't know how much he'll say he'll have in policy, but let's presume that he will be a voice for pushing Donald Trump maybe in that direction that some Republicans want to see in terms of sort of a broader tent philosophy to the GOP.
He certainly represents one corner. You could say that Newt Gingrich is not necessarily in the same corner, but he is somebody that his name is brought up as a thinker for conservatives. And he has some thoughts on Reince Priebus becoming the advisor to the commander-in-chief, and here's what Newt Gingrich had to say.
I think that Reince has the right personality for a day-to-day, keep the machine running, get everybody in the room that has to be there, make sure you're touching every base you need to. He is a great natural leader of a political system. He did probably the most important RNC chairman of modern times. He had 7,500 people in the field, and that was the secret grassroots army that the Democrats never counted on when they would look at the Trump campaign.
Interesting. So that's the description that Newt Gingrich has of the chief of staff. Read between the lines there. What did you think about what he had to say?
That tells me that Newt Gingrich, who has not been assigned a specific task, but yesterday I was on Megyn Kelly's show talking about being sort of a minister without a portfolio, being an ideas guy. That tells me that Newt's going to be talking a lot to the chief of staff about ideas to send to the president. So that's one thought line to watch for in this early.
You know, I'm curious about that thought too, because there's all these folks that could have official positions. We're seeing that, of course, for Reince Priebus, chief of staff. We just heard that Ben Carson is not going to be named to the cabinet, according to sources telling Fox News. But that does leave the door open, Bill, for him to be an advisor of sorts. He doesn't need to be in the cabinet. Talk to us about the tension between those that are unofficial or official advisors and those with a serious title. Who really has the most pull with the president?
Well, we're not going to find out, Jenna, until 6 months into this presidency when the president actually makes decisions and we find out what the process was, who advised him, who got to him last, who swayed his opinion. But right now what you look for is to see, A, who gets hired, B, what their title is, and then what we'll find out later, C, what their actual job responsibility is, who within the White House reports. The White House is about two things. Number one, access to the presidency, but second, what your portfolio is, what offices you hold over. So I just caution people who want to get too far ahead in this process. You have to wait for the whole picture to come in and see what these various people hired to the White House are actually responsible for.
And we only have a few items in that picture, that class picture that we're looking for. Bill, just a quick final question for you. Mike Pence is a name that you're watching as well. We know his title, he's vice president, but why are you watching for what role and what sort of behavior he'll have in the new administration?
Well, we knew that Dick Cheney and Joe Biden, the last two vice presidents, had very ambitious portfolios. I'll be curious to see what channel Mike Pence provides back to conservatives in Congress. Reince Priebus obviously will be talking to his fellow Wisconsinite Paul Ryan, but I suspect that the vice president also will be tasked with talking to members of Congress and keeping everybody on board, because the trick with this presidency, Jenna, is he is not predictable in terms of ideology and policy and pedigree. So some days he's going to make Republicans very happy, and some days I suspect he'll bother Republicans. So the vice president becomes very important in terms of keeping everybody together on the same page.
Good days and bad days. It sounds like real life.
Exactly.
Bill, great to have you on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenna.